allegedly close their eyes on the corruption that's going on in the country. Joining us this morning then to talk about these issues, let me introduce Jimmy Gekwa, who is Mount Kenya Youth Chairman. How are you doing, sir?
Very fine, thank you.
Happy to have you around. Also joining us in the studio is Susan Wanjiru, who's a political analyst. Susan, how are you doing? Happy to have you around. Top of the issues that we're also going to talk about this morning is now the continued drive in Meru County to dissolve that government. How will that go? Coming up shortly. Jimmy, let me begin with you.
Yes, sir.
Raila Odinga is saying Kenyans are not getting told the truth in this G2G deal. Over the other side, RUTO is speaking vehemently on it, telling Raila Odinga off on this deal. In fact, saying it's a very good thing for Kenyans, owing to the fact that we're now negotiating this oil from these oil-producing countries directly. Raila Odinga is saying, that's a lie. It is the Ministry of Energy that has essentially gone to these particular companies to negotiate this oil that is coming into the country, that you need to tell Kenyans the truth. A lot of us are speaking now, yes, and we're going to see exactly what the Standard and the Nation is talking about this morning as regards this deal. Who's saying the truth, Jimmy?
I'd be more inclined with the president.
Yes.
I have a soft spot for him.
Yes.
Raila Amolo Odinga is a beneficiary. He's in business, he's in the oil business.
Yes.
If Raila had the information, it would be breaking news. So there is something he doesn't know, or there is something he knows, and he's trying to he's trying to be one of the beneficiaries of the same deals. Raila is too crafty, we know him. Once you get him on checkmate, he's on payroll, he keeps quiet. So I do not think he's honest. And I think the president, at the time when the subsidies were left out,
yes,
it really hit some of them directly because they were the biggest beneficiaries in this country. Now, obviously, after a few months, with the price fluctuation, they know the amount of money they can make, they can break. So they are getting, I think it's just the appetite that has just woken up.
Yes.
These guys are making it,
Yes.
But how? If Raila had information, nobody in this country would not have it by now. He does not know how to keep quiet with information. He has never. Raila will not keep it and tell government, no, I'll say. No, he'll say then go negotiate.
Just before I cross over to Susan this morning.
Yes.
I mean, Raila Odinga is not essentially also even speaking purely on this.
Yes.
He's also going back to look at exactly how the oil deals in this government have been manufactured from the Ministry of Energy.
Yes.
And he also talks about the Anjoroge story.
Yes.
And so that somebody within the ministry did give her the leeway to get that money from a levy that was withdrawn from the Ministry of Energy to enable that deal to go through. Which is why he continues to say, if indeed we can allow that, and we are talking about it, even this G2G deal, we should question it.
I'd want to be a bit skeptical with that information because that is not official information and it is not substantiated at any point. Yeah?
Yes.
I saw that information yesterday. I was actually doing a read-through on the whole thing and the levies and everything. But how the subsidies came around should be our first question. Who are the beneficiaries? Was he part of the beneficiary system? Because as it is, we have been taken through a very funny skit. Call it a skit because it can't even work like a movie.
Yes.
Because Mara, there is the woman has disappeared. She's not being seen in Mombasa. Again, she's there. Then the mom just comes out and says, oh no, my daughter cannot have that kind of money. Look at the woman, we are so used to what we call masine mare until a point where you have to actually scrutinize information to get it. For Raila to purport that, unless he has information which is not in the hands of the public, which is not in the hands of government, then maybe I would believe him if he came up with figures, accounts, timings, which I know, if he wanted to have, if he thought it was true, other than trying to fuel an already big problem as it is because the fuel prices are also scattering Now going again, fighting the same system will take us either back there,
Yes.
and consumers and Kenyans will get hurt.
Yes.
So what I'm seeing, this is power play. It is just a hand in trying to get some coin into their pockets. I do not see anything genuine on Raila Amolo Odinga.
Yes.
And I believe the president, because as much as they're saying, oh, this price in Rwanda is not conflicting, the barrel prices are going down, we still have international obligations. And I'm sure by the time our president was going for the G2G as per se, there was already a crisis in this country. The crisis at some point fell down, or rather, even though it didn't fall down, it was a bit manageable. We would have hit the 300 mark by the last week, if it is not for government intervention and a few 1, 2, 3s. I still believe my president, in terms of him planning systems of government, that deal, I know, hurt the first families because they were the biggest beneficiaries of the same. They're businessmen in that field. So when Raila says gas, ikoju, whatever, sometimes we say talk is cheap.
Yes.
Let him bring enough on the table.
Yes. Jimmy, is somebody gonna ask you that at this time, when we were told that this deal was going to be beneficial for the country in terms of, number one, stabilizing the Kenyan shilling against the dollar, number two, also in terms of getting cheap oil. Jimmy, last week, Tanzania reviewed their fuel prices on the back of the dropping international oil prices. By the way, that is also on the back of the Israel-Hamas war, because now there's sort of a glut within the market that needs somewhere to go. If indeed it has not stabilized the dollar, number one, and if indeed it has not seen cheap oil in this country, shouldn't we be asking those questions?
We should be asking those questions, and I think it is also good to see Raila Amolo Odinga now come out as the official opposition. Now that is his job.
Yes.
But again, he uses too much propaganda. Like I said, you were talking about the oil prices and the dollar prices. We have been treated to a 4-year, 5-year plastic dollar exchange rate with our country. Now is when we are seeing the reality. This is what government is doing. We have been pampered. At some point, I know everybody is feeling the brunt. Life is not easy and all, every imports and all that, because they drive a major factor in our economy. They actually make us not even be competitive in terms of our buying price and our selling and all that. But we have been cushioned with so many subsidies to a point where we felt so comfortable, which was not a reality. Now we are back to reality. And back to reality also means we are back to what we are supposed to. Go back to the problem, solve the problem. Do not mitigate the problem. What the previous government was doing. There's a problem with the money for paying workers. They go get a quick concessional loan. Now we have a Eurobond that is maturing next month, which nobody can actually state where that money went. It was probably some white elephant in this country.
Yes.
Who is supposed to pay it? We have international obligations.
Yes.
That will not cushion our country. That money has to be paid. So that's why you see government has taken a different approach on the way to handle debt and on the way to stabilize the dollar again. Now is when we have reality. If at all we were cushioned for them, we would have woken one day and found the dollar at 200 Kenya shillings.
That's it. Here's the thing. We're going to listen to some notes from Gatundu South Member of Parliament and then come back and ask pertinent questions from there, because for him, he also tends to think a bit different from what Raila Amolo Odinga is saying. Susan, let me cross over to you as well this morning. Raila Amolo Odinga is going straight to Chilchir and Dungu, and he's telling them, resign right now. Because all of a sudden, Kenya was treated to an oil deal saga that is worth 17 billion. And when we looked at Njoroge and started asking questions of, where did you get this money from? Who's behind you? Then some names again started popping up. Even from Njoroge's mouth, Churchill popped up, Dungu popped up. And she also went right ahead to say, well, there were also some very strong or officers from within the government who came in and essentially looked into this particular deal. So Raila Amolo Odinga sat down and said, if indeed it's a money issue and it's a ministry issue, then Dung and Churchill should go home. Do you think he's overreaching, even as we talk about the nitty-gritties of this oil deal?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think Raila Odinga is not genuine, because number one, he has not even given us any figures. He has not given us, he only gave a statement. When you look at Anne, she definitely looked like someone who is coached, someone who is, there's someone behind her,
Yes,
trying to cover up on something. And when I was listening to Raila Odinga, I felt like he was defending Anne. So I failed to understand, and from what, since I started following up politics, I've never found him genuine, because 1 minute he's talking like this, the other minute he's talking like this. Because if you go back to the politics Raila Odinga has always played, is if something is favoring him, it doesn't matter what Kenyans are feeling about it.
yes.
We had the issue of Unga, the moment they shake hands with Uhuru Kenyatta.
I forgot about it.
We had the issue of Unga. 1 minute he said Unga is high. The moment he shook hand with Uhuru Kenyatta, he said Kenyans are complaining for nothing. Across the world, the economy is hard. So I failed to understand Raila Odinga. Also, when he's reading his statement, to find him, even his body language, he's not also sure of what he's saying. So I don't believe Raila Odinga.
Yes. I like the way you're saying that Anne looked like someone who's coached. And if she's going to get coached, and you're looking at the amount of money that is essentially involved in the deal, then Raila Amolo Odinga is just asking questions. And here's the thing, there's a story that the Standard Media actually got to do. They looked at exactly how the money from all the levies within the Ministry of Energy, especially under the petroleum docket, are used, and they could trace that indeed there were a couple of holes in how some money was used and withdrawn, up to the point where they found a certain 17 billion that sort of coincided with the 17 billion that were used to bring this oil that is now a point of question in the country at this point. That indeed, Raila Amolo Odinga is playing his role for opposition rightly, as he should, asking these questions. So it's not about him being insincere, it is these questions that we need answered, Susan, that we haven't got answers to yet.
Okay, we appreciate his role as the official opposition leader, and he's not doing anyone a favor. That is his job. Being an opposition leader, he should be asking those questions. Then if the questions are genuine and we are able to tell that indeed he's asking these questions, like my brother here said, he has said on, there's something you've said on, slipping my mind. Okay, he's doing his work. So what we should also expect from the government is to give feedback if whatever Raila Odinga is asking is genuine.
That's
He
it.
only gave the statement yesterday, so let us see today what will happen. What will the government respond on his questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to put you on the same platform that I put Jimmy. When Kenya got into this G2G oil deal, there were a couple of things that we were promised, Susan, and that's why we supported it. On paper, this is what they said, that indeed we are going to get this oil deal in Kenyan shillings, and guys, that will mean that we won't put pressure on the Kenyan shilling to buy dollars to buy oil in this country. And before you know it, and this is from the president's mouth himself, that the dollar, that the Kenyan shilling against the dollar was going to be somewhere around 120 shillings. In fact, there was even an audacious statement that said, well, it's going to be below 100 bob. Just give us some time.
Okay.
He even dared those guys who were holding dollars and told them, put it in the market, because all of a sudden you guys, your money is going to be worthless. Number two as well, they said that this was essentially going to give us cheap oil. That's what they said. And when they announced it, everybody celebrated and said, yeah, this is the best way to go. But let's then audit exactly what has happened since we got into this G2G deal. Number one, we are talking about the most expensive oil that the country has ever seen, even as they say, well, that it has come down this month. In reality, it has not. And when you look at our peers in EA, that is in East Africa, we are leading. Tanzania, like I was telling Jimmy, reviewed their oil prices. They're not in any G2G deal, and it's now cheaper to buy oil in Tanzania than it is in Kenya. Number two, the dollar has spiraled out of control. We're not talking about 152, the official figure from yesterday. There are fears that it might get to 160. And those are questions that we should be asking then. That indeed, why are you putting us here when in reality those who are not in this G2G deal are getting cheaper oil than we are getting, Susan? I know those are questions that we are asking. And Raila Amolo Odinga is also asking those questions, Jimmy. It's like it's not cheaper. It's not cheaper, and the dollar is not essentially weakening against the shilling. It's actually gaining against the shilling on the back of this deal. Then is that not the question that you should be asking? A majority of government officials have closed their eyes on this, Susan. Nobody's talking about it.
Wow, okay. I understand that. And one thing I believe about William Ruto is someone who tries something that we are not used to.
Yes.
Jimmy also has spoken and has said that the president is one person who will come up with a policy.
Yes.
Of course, he wouldn't also want to fail. He would also want to see that Kenyans would, because right now if you look at the ground, things are so hard for him also. He's getting backlash from across the country. But one thing I believe is that William Ruto has interest for Kenyans. Let us try and give him some time. The problem with us Kenyans sometimes is that we don't know what to politicize and what not to politicize.
Yes.
You're either supporting the government or you're either hitting on the government. So I would say let us give President William Ruto a chance and deliver what he promised Kenyans.
Just before I cross over to Jimmy, and also we're going to look at the notes of the Gatundu South Member of Parliament on this G2G deal. Susan, what we do know is that in the latest review, again, it's something that we're told we're moving away from. And Jimmy, you might also want to indulge us on this, that the government spent 10 billion on subsidies. It is something we were told was not okay for us. It was killing this economy. But in this latest review, we have 10 billion worth of subsidies. And those are the questions that we are asking. That how different is it from how Uhuru Kenyatta was doing it? Because majority of us are getting told, you see, the previous regime could not contain whatever was going on in the oil market. For us, we're going to move away from subsidies. But in this latest one, there are subsidies. And let me remind you of the sentiments of President William Ruto before the latest review of this fuel prices. He did say his hands were tied. In a nutshell, what we did expect is that no expenditure on subsidies, but this time around, there were subsidies. Which is why I want to ask you, that either way, whether we like it or not, that William Ruto sat somewhere and said, well, I can't sit back and watch fuel prices go to 229, or the purported 300 shillings that Churchill was essentially talking about before the latest review. That whether we like it or not, Susan, there has to be a political move from William Ruto. And this time around we saw it in the subsidies that he essentially spoke so much against.
Got subsidies.
Yeah. It's a subsidy. It's 10 billion in subsidies, yes.
On
this latest review. That's it. So why are we going to sit here and then say, well, it is well intentioned, it's moving away from what used to happen. Now we have a G2G deal that has not met the dollar stand, that does not make the shilling stand properly against the dollar, that has not essentially made fuel cheaper, that is essentially also pushing us into subsidies. Those are the questions that Raila Amolo Odinga is asking. It's like, well, guys, it's not any different. In fact, it's worse than it used to be. And those are questions that we should be asking this morning, Susan.
Okay. Like I've said, the president also wouldn't want to fail. So I'm sure he has a plan.
On this one, would you call it a failure then?
No, I wouldn't.
For a man who spoke so much against subsidies,
Of
Susan.
course, he had to give Kenyans hope.
Yes, from man who came in saying, well, I'm going to move this country away from subsidies. They're untenable, they're unsustainable, they're killing this economy. We got to face it. But he doesn't want to face it.
No, I think,
Yes,
I think, on the contrary, I think he's facing it.
Yes.
If you see in his latest deal, we got loans, not necessarily taken, but got loans we can access for worth 1 point something trillion.
Yeah, 1.8 trillion.
1.8 trillion.
Yes.
Without necessarily going
Yes.
the drifting way of the former regime. So at some point, I know things will get better.
Yes.
But as of now, we have to be, the mitigation was probably because of the backlash and also because of the food prices and everything.
Yes.
By then, when he was going for the G2G, we had to understand who were holding. We know who were holding. We who have worked somewhere close to government and government officials, we know the former regime. It was they needed to break William.
Yes.
Now they have seen William has crossed the line, His Excellency William. They have seen he's crossed the line, so they have to go for Plan B. You saw His Excellency the President, former President Uhuru Kenyatta come and talk like, I'm sorry to say, he made a very reckless statement that everybody is blaming me, like this country came from Jupiter. You were the president 1 year ago. The mess we are in this country is because Uhuru Kenyatta, they could not contain his alcohol appetite. Sorry to say, because it was wrong for him to come out and say, if you fail, you don't talk like that. Who actually asked for your opinion? Can you just keep quiet? Let us try and get through these murky waters. Why I'm not seeing a big problem and a big failure in terms of government is because I'm seeing things slide. The only problem we have was just like I said last time when we were doing the former interview. I said, it's time His Excellency William Ruto, Daktari, gets his act together in terms of he has to panel beat these guys.
Yes.
If you're not working in government, man, the honeymoon is over. Now it's serious stuff. We have bigger loans. We actually have like 6 more loans coming up in the next like 3 or 4 months. So do not expect a good Christmas and a good January. What wajipange? We kaza mshipi.
Yes.
We just get through this, and I'm sure if we got through what we went through during COVID, there's nothing this country cannot go through.
That's it.
If this country did not collapse,
Yes.
we need all those leaders to stop following the president. Everybody go back to the ground. Try and get mitigation to the Wanjiko.
Yes.
Try and get ways of bringing Wanjiko. Try and get. We need also people who are resourceful in terms of thinking.
Yeah, and also,
Yes.
Simba,
Yes.
and also change is never easy. Anytime change is coming, we tend to have a lot of discomfort. So it is good for Kenyans to just have some patience. This government has only been in power for 1 year. There are so many things. If you look at, or if you try to read President Ruto's mind, he's really trying to change things.
Yes. Here's a question that became a talk of town yesterday when President Uhuru Kenyatta essentially went to a church in Mwingi and said, I don't understand why every other person keeps on blaming me for the failures of this particular government, as we get the next story ready. At what point, Jimmy, at what point are we going to say, please,
No,
the Jubilee government is no more, let's not talk about it, let's fix it.
Let me try and deviate his mind and his thinking that he was immune or he was,
Yes.
he had a rich boy mentality. He didn't know Kenyans had a problem. He didn't know this country was actually on autopilot. If William was not there, we would have been in an abyss where we would never probably in the next 10 years.
Jimmy, the question goes, yes.
24 years of his rule. Even when Kibaki was finishing, we were still talking about how Moi. We still talk today how Moi messed this economy.
What's that?
24 years,
Yes.
and now put another extra 20 years.
Yes.
So we're talking about 44 years. People still complain about Moi dropping the prices of coffee, Moi killing the tea industry, more killing the industrial industry. So tell him to hold his horses. We still have a long way. We will still brand, we will still rant, because some of the things he did were populist. And most of the things that were done were behind, it was just a clique. The Morales, they were the high and mighty in the State House. State House was like a heaven. His own brother, Moho Kenyatta, what were they doing? Most of those things were the deals those guys did. Some we may not know, but they will pop up in the near future, because not everything was in the light. What if you see these guys come out? There is something they are rushing to hide.
That's it. But at what point are we going to stop talking about them and actually
we are not going to do
issues
it. I will always say, personally, I actually supported him.
Yes.
I was his campaigner. By then,
yes,
I was a Jubilee member. And I think if there is one person who really did disservice to the people of Kenya, and the hope people of Kenya had, particularly Mount Kenya, is Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta finished, they said there were some imports, low standard imports. The next month, he had shares in East African cables. He is still the most irresponsible person, I think, in the system of government.
Yes.
It was wrong. He was not honest. He actually left. Why you're saying the Mount Kenya nonsense, kingpin and all that nonsense? It's because somebody lied to Uhuru, who was too young to retire. So Mount Kenya, particularly the young tax, like some of us, we may not have a father figure as of now, politically. And politically also means economically, because we don't know where our backlash can go. So we look like we are floating. If His Excellency the President RUTO right now says, you guys, Mount Kenya, I'm done with you. My friend, we are done. Like for real, we are done for now, like 20 years. So for Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta to say, don't talk about me, my friend, the nonsense you have done in this country,
yes,
we have to talk about you.
That's it.
And we're not sorry about talking about you.
Yes.
We will tell you, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, here you did well. Here you did. But in the economy wise, screw this thing.
Let me put Jimmy into a context. Something that happened just when we started experiencing the El Nino rains in the country.
Yes.
All of a sudden, JKA, there's a day it rained. Was sometime last week. JKA turned into a mess.
Thank you.
Put an international airport in the scope. Just the first statement that came from the CS Transport. Oh, guys, and I'm paraphrasing it for the better of our viewers. It's like, guys, no, it's not us. It's not us.
But let me tell you.
Hold on, Jimmy. It's not us.
Now let me answer.
Hold on, Jimmy. Hold on,
Politely.
Jimmy, hold on. It was like, Susan, it was like, it's not us. Blame.
That thing was
commissioned. We didn't construct it.
Yes, 2017.
Later, there were two statements that came in. The first statement was, don't blame us. Okay? It's not us. Number two, after a day, that's when we did hear there's a member committee that has been formed that is going to look at the state of JKIA, and then table a report to the Ministry of Transport so they can actually get to look into it. Susan, what should have come first? And that's what I'm saying. Like, at what point are we going to stop blaming the previous administration from the state of this country? Because if you're trying to fix it, then fix it. At what point are we going to stop and just fix our problems right now? Because even in this oil day that we're talking about here, the wrongs of the previous administration also keep on propping up every other time.
Yes.
The Kenyans ask questions, we are told, but you see, they're the ones who made us here. So at what point, let's first start with that example for JKIA. What should have been the first statement coming from Murkomen?
Okay, first is to apologize to Kenyans, of course, that had happened. And
Susan, you know.
Yeah, you've asked me what we expected from them.
What he was supposed to have done.
Yeah,
but of course, he didn't do that. Yeah.
Of course, he didn't do that.
That's it.
But at the same time, like Njeri is saying here, there's someone to be blamed for this, because a lot of money was put in that project.
But then, for the sake of the audience that are watching you this morning, so if you say, Simba who did this, but you're in charge, so somebody's going to ask you, so what?
Now let me ask
so what?
Let me ask, Simba, let me ask you.
Yes, Susan.
Let me ask you a good question. We spent 58 billion
That's it.
on that hogwash.
That's it.
That thing is a tent. Have you ever, actually, your roof is better than
So
that.
I've looked at it, yeah.
Yes, it is a tent and some funny sculptures that they did. 58 billion. We're talking about less than 6 years. It is down. What miracle do you expect Murkomen or this government to come and do? 58 billion for hogwash. Who pocketed that money? Morale and
Yes.
promise.
But, Jimmy, and we understand that. Majority of Kenyans understand that, Susan. They're not saying no.
Yes.
But then, since you're now in charge, what are you going to do?
That is why there's a commission.
Yeah.
Before we use money,
Yes.
before we do any repairs,
Yes.
before we do anything in this country, you know we have to go through parliament.
That's it.
We go through checks and balances,
Yes.
or else then you will hear scandal 10 billion.
That's
you know
it.
that is exactly what they've been waiting for. But I'm very glad this country has grown out of some funny, shoddy dealings in terms of government. I think William is just a man. Ask me why. In terms of corruption, I do not think there is anybody who has fought corruption more than William. Maybe not on the small scale, but on a high scale, I do not think there's any minister who can hit big. And William just looks at you. No, he's not that level. He's hands-on. So that is why Murkomen, CS Murkomen, put out a commission. So in the next 1, 2, 3 weeks, we're supposed to have a commission, give out a report, get it either to the parliamentary groups
Yes.
that need to discuss it, get it to wherever procurement goes. Now we are going to fix a 58 billion project that has not lasted. See, do you know when JKA was made? Before who was born? That Jomo Kenyatta, which is named after his father, it was made before probably either he was born or he was a very toddler. It took him 50 years to come and repair it. And when he did repairs and standardizing it to international levels, it has not taken 6 years to go down. So when anybody asks me, Uhuru, I will tell him Uhuru was a mess.
Yes.
Rich kid mentality.
That's it.
That guy
Yes.
was not hands-on. He let everything free flow.
That's it.
Now, if he was hands-on,
Yes.
we would not have had that mess right now.
That's it. But then, Susan, you say, what makes majority of Kenyans worry is that in this particular administration, that in every other move that they're making, the wrongs of the previous administration are still included in these moves that they're making. Which one asked, at any one point, I mean, you're the CS Transport now. I mean, you telling us that it's not our fault. How does that help the situation? What do Kenyans want to hear today? Is it not what we are doing to fix it? Because you say we're going to fix it.
Yeah, of course, we've discussed that and we've said CS Murkomen has already put aside a commission to check on that.
Does it?
And like we've said, money was used not long ago. Money was used, was put there, a lot of money. Then this is what we are getting. So I think they can't run away from their mistakes. They did mistakes, and we have to point.
Actually,
them.
should apologize.
Yes.
Pretty much. Yes,
Should apologize.
yes.
Yeah.
At this point, just as we clear on this particular issue, then for this G2G deal, guess who was speaking yesterday? Gatundu South Member of Parliament was come out to defend the government's decision to enter into government all deal, shielding the government from Odinga's ammunition that claims the deal was a scam. Now, the legislature says the deal was meant to cushion Kenyans against the high cost of fuel and to try stabilize the Kenyan shilling against the dollar. Let's take a look at that particular story. Once we come back, then talk about it on the basis of his response on stabilizing the Kenyan shilling and also cushioning Kenyans from the high cost of fuel.
There are many ways in which you can finish or terminate a transaction, and one among them is of such commodities. One among them is to have a private company in another country which shall require an LC, a line of credit, and then a letter of LC to show that you'll be in a position to pay once the goods are delivered to you. But even that makes a requirement that once the goods are delivered to you, which is when your, for example, petroleum product is coming to Mombasa, then you have a requirement to pay. Then the government thought that we could shield or protect the country and the economy by removing the need to raise dollars in advance. for the oil that is going to come. And that is when we came in with the G2G model, so that oil marketers can bring oil into the country, sell to the mwananchi, raise Kenya shillings, and then therefore shield the country against the high demand for dollar. And so there's a huge demand for the dollar, and this is what the country and the government was trying to cure by making sure that the importation is reduced. That's why we were even making in the budget or in the Finance Act discouraging importation of some certain goods, especially those that can be manufactured here. Because the end game and why life is by the way, what has made life unbearable is not really the cost that has gone high, it is our purchasing power that has gone low. And what is occasioning that is that we have high demand for dollar to go and import stuff that we probably do not need.
Jimmy, we sat yesterday in the newsroom, yes, and then said, let's try and mark that particular statement there from the Member of Parliament, Gatundu South. We listened to it, and we said, we've spoken a lot about what the deal was intended to do. But then in reality, that particular deal has not achieved what it was intended to do. He's explaining what the deal really wanted to achieve, yes, but it hasn't.
But did the deal have a time frame?
Yes.
Did we have a marking scheme for the time frame for the deal?
Yes.
Because everything, basically, once you get into
yes,
any international obligation, it has pros and cons. It has time frames for doing from point A to point B to point C.
Yes.
That's why the president boldly told Kenya, my hands are tied. I can't do anything about this one for now. Because something good is coming. Something good is on the way. We just don't wake up and do some deals and you expect tomorrow you wake up after an international and tell IMF, no, I thought to me, we're not serious about the thing. We think we are reverting. You have to pay those loans. Why the demand for the dollar needed to be mitigated is because, one, we had a lot of hoarding. Second, as Mheshimiwa Kagombe on the South MP said, the demand to buy unnecessary products in the country,
yes,
like furniture. We are shipping a lot of furniture, whereas we have talented youth, quality, same quality, probably better quality because of our terrain in terms of even our houses, level of cleanliness. Some of these things you buy abroad, they need an extra top notch. There are no flies. There is no dirt. Here there is mud everywhere, and whether you're rich or poor, you still get some mud. You get. So basically, we had so many products we were bringing to the country unnecessarily, beating the dollar. We were still buying, selling them in the dollar, or rather, we were importing them using the dollar. That money that we are trying to mitigate on is what is paying those loans, because we are not paying loans in Kenya shillings. If it is euros, we are paying in euros. If it was a euro bond, they are euros. But now the world currency, basically the world currency in terms of trade from IMF and all that, is the dollar. So we are trying to meet our obligations as a country, vis-a-vis trying to stabilize our economy. So I think what the president did was perfect. People now understand. We are not in the honeymoon. We are not, we had, I said we had plastic. Artificial happiness. Like those people who go to the casino. You hit the jackpot today, but the house always wins. So it's plastic. I call it plastic money. Unless you move out of that casino. Yes. But leave all that money there.
Yes.
So now we have reality. Can we work from reality? What I would even be proposing to members of azimio, or rather the other side of the divide, is to come into systems of government. Let's first rescue this thing, then fight over it. Now you guys, one of your leader left this mess. We are trying to mitigate, and in mitigation, we will make mistakes. We're not perfect as a government. Not me, not speaking on behalf of government, but being a stern supporter of government. We will make mistakes. We are not angels, but we need you to come up. We need to fix this thing together. If this boat goes down, it doesn't care whether Raila wants to be president, whether Kalonzo. We need to come. That is why you have parliamentary groups. Parliamentary groups are non-partisan. They discuss. If it is about them, they discuss. That is why you see, that is why we go non-partisan. That is why we have bilateral talks,
Yes.
as we speak right now. So the blame games at some point will come to an end.
Yes.
But so far so bad in terms of everything we are trying to move 10 steps forward.
Yes.
5 steps from the previous government.
Azam.
Take us behind. And obviously it will stop a process. And if that process doesn't go, the people feel disgruntled. It's a fact of life.
Azam. Susan, I like the way Jimmy speaks. And by the way, anybody who listens to you will say, well, that's 100% true.
Yes.
But that's correctly fine. Now, let's then audit Jimmy's statement based on the recent remarks by President Dr. William Ruto. If you listened to him last weekend, Susan, he went ahead and promised Kenyans that the cost of fuel was going to come down. In fact, he said it has started coming down, and if you essentially then even go further with that statement, you say, well, indeed diesel and kerosene, in the latest review, it is some 2 shillings off their pricing from last month. But petrol, it's still stuck at 217. Goes right ahead to say, it's still going to continue coming down. Let's wake up to the headlines that we do expect as of next year and what EPRA is proposing. EPRA is proposing the doubling of some levies within the petroleum products in the country. As from next year, VAT, by the way, as from Jan 2024, is going to shoot up to 18%. Meaning that indeed, if you're talking about the cost of fuel, that the only way that you can go, if you're going to reduce it, if you're still going to stick to the G2G deal, number one is to continue with these subsidies like they've done in this month's review, which is 10 billion worth of subsidies. And also, in any other way than if you want to reduce it, is cut down on the taxes, which they are not, Susan. If you audit that statement that Jimmy is saying, it will be completely correct. But then, if you also go by the statements of President Dr. William Ruto, is that the only way to reduce it is either introduce subsidies and cut down on taxes, which they are not doing anytime soon. And he's speaking again in subsidies. So the question being then, why is the president not coming clear and saying that indeed on this particular lead, the way it's pegged, is not going to give us cheap oil, we're going to look for an internal solution, just like we have starting this month. Susan.
Okay, I still insist that the president means well. As much as we've been having those mixed reactions and also him being quoted here and there saying different things at the different times, but I think he means well and he's going down with this. So what I would say, we still support the president.
Susan, how would you know that I mean well if what I'm saying is not essentially what is going on around you? If I say that I want you to flourish, I want to support you to flourish, but indeed what I'm doing is not helping you do that, how are you going to judge if I mean well or not? And that's why majority of Kenyans have been disgruntled with the president's statement. And I will tell you what, I'll pick a point as well. Again, when he was telling Kenyans that the cost of unga has come down, they corrected him. They told him, whatever price you're stating is not what we're buying it at. He was supposed to correct himself and say, well, we're going to keep on working around it. So how are you going to know that I mean well, if indeed whatever it is that I'm introducing around you is pushing you to the wall, Susan?
Okay, Simba, change is never easy.
Yes.
Like I've said before, we'll have hiccups here and there. So I can only say we trust the process, and let's see where the president is heading with this, because I believe he means well.
Do you believe that majority of Kenyans, it is more than a year down the line since President took over this government, was the majority of them, would you think they still want to be told, trust the process, that things are going to get better? When in reality, majority of government officials, you had the government spokesperson, Maura, the other day, telling Kenyans, well, it's going to get tough, tighten your belts. In fact, he said, give him 2 or 3 years. He didn't say even 2 years. We have that statement on video, and we're laughing at it in the production house when we're saying, well, what is it? Is it 3 years or 2 years? Because if you give him 3 years from now, that is at the end of his term. Is it not going to be, Susan? Is that what majority of Kenyans want to hear? That indeed, when you audit the statements that are coming from majority of the government officials, they're not specific like they were during the campaigns. That's it. they're not specific, Susan, that there's no hope in whatever statements that we're getting. Even as you say, it means well. Monray is not giving Kenyans hope. He's telling them to give him 2 or 3 years. So where is this conviction that the president means well when in reality we do not see it in his actions?
Okay, we've spoken about not blaming the previous regime. So he has moved on from that. And what now he's doing, he's trying to fix things. Honestly speaking, you can't tell me that the country is where it is because of him being in power for the last 1 year. So with time, maybe he's going on discovering things that were done there before.
Yes.
The money that was being borrowed for projects that never ended. Yeah, and others were going, the money was going to people's pockets. So we have so much to fix. And the president, as much as he's talking, he's selling hope to the people. But indeed, you see, we are used to covering up our problems. We have a problem here, there's shortage in education, we go borrow, we bring the money, we sort the issue.
Yes.
We move from there is a problem in health sector, we borrow the money. What the president is trying to do is to help us depend on ourselves a bit more. We stop borrowing so much and coming back to ourselves. So the president, most of the time, maybe he's finding himself in a fix. That Kenyans, there are those who are not able to wait for long. Most Kenyans don't understand how governments work. So he has to say here and there sometimes drop lines or drop statements that would tend to show that things are going well.
Yes.
And in reality,
yes,
things are not like that.
Doesn't.
So let us give our president some time and see if he's able to sort out the mess that we are in.
Yeah. Here's the thing, Jimmy, I want us to take a tiny breather, but there's some questions that have been directed to you, by the way, this morning. Thank you very much for watching. These are my personal fans who are watching this morning. All right, this is Ellie watching us from Eldoret this morning. And this is what he's saying. Could you remind Susan that President Dr. William Ruto's government is borrowing more year on year than President Uhuru Kenyatta's government? Where is it going to be after 5 or 10 years? As a question that they're reminding you this morning. Number 2, this is to Jimmy, all from, Hava this morning, who's saying, indeed, on the basis of oil, Ruto has no idea because of his 2 statements. Last week, he said his hands are tied. This week, he's saying oil is going to be cheaper. Why can't he tell Kenyans the direction that the government is taking? All right, I've got the final one from Fasi this morning. Also, thank you very much for watching us from Utawala this morning. And she's saying, well, I was a supporter of President Ruto during his campaigns, but nothing about his statements sell hope to Kenyans. We are only getting told things are going to get tough. Tighten your belt because of President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta.
It's a fact. I told you again, it's a fact. It will remain a fact. Whether we like it or not, we will never run away from that.
Once we come back, top issues that we're going to look at, by the way, is Kawira Mongaza and Meru County. Did the Senate make a mistake sending her back? Because all of a sudden, some MCAs are resigning because they want to dissolve that particular government. What is going on in Meru County? And also, top of the issues that we're going to talk about, those talks at the Bomas of Kenya that were essentially at report writing stage. Azimio coalition throw in a spanner. They said, in that report, include this 9 at the report writing stage. What is going to happen? The president said, I'd rather the talks fail than missing on a housing levy. Once we come back, Jimmy and Susan weigh in on that as well. Good morning.
Are you looking for an office space? 4th Avenue Towers is a professionally designed 25-story executive office that is conveniently located at the heart of the Medical and Legal Services Square within community area. The office is easily accessible from both Valley Road and Ngong Road. Professionals and business people now have the opportunity to own a premium piece of office space, the optimum choice for the modern professional. Key utilities include 24-hour security with CCTV surveillance, high-speed internet access, ample and secure parking, high-speed elevators, power backup generator, open rooftop and a restaurant. 4th Avenue, an amazing product of Fusion Capital. Fusion Capital, rooted in the African growth story. Are you
Rafiki, toka mbele ya kamera nionekana niko Mkuru kwa Ruben. Na niko na mshindi wetu wa loto wa leo hapa Mkuru kwa Ruben. Unaitwa nani ndugu yangu?
Steven Kinuthia.
Umecheza loto kwa muda upi?
Nimecheza kwa mwaka huu ukianza kuanzia January.
Kutoka Januari?
Kuanzia January.
Umecheza na hela ngapi hivi?
Nimecheza na 100.
Mnakumbuka nduru ulipiga pale kwa nyumba? Majirani walisema nini?
Walikuwa wameshtuka sana. Amekuwa wazimu, amekuwa pongoni ama nini? Nikasema tu ni Mungu tu amefikisha. Mambo ikakuwa poa.
Oye, siku yako ilifika. Niambie aje 1800 itakusaidiaje kwa maisha yako?
Mimi kwanza ni kazi, napenda kazi sana. Alafu hiyo mambo ingine kwanza nitakuwa na hardware hata kubwa. Nitengeneze hardware, niweke stock. Alafu mambo mengine naachia Mungu.
Na huenda kesho ikawa ni wewe tunatembelea kwa sababu loto inabadilisha maisha. Tunasema changing lives. Ama aje watu wa Mkuru kwa Ruben. Nakwambia changamka, cheza loto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
So the story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging that care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage. Welcome back. My name is Simba Kiage. Let's then talk about what's going on in the country. Now, what we do know is that the issues that have been bedefiling Meru County are not done yet. Now, two things are going on. Is already a motion that was tabled in that county, again immediately after she was saved by the Senate, to get her impeached. And as it looks, if it essentially sees the light of the day, they're going to vote on it. And you and I know exactly how it's going to go. But that's not it. Again now, there is a drive within that particular county to dissolve the government. But we did a story yesterday on how there are already Meru County residents who are on a signature drive. Once they reach the quota, it means that there's going to be another motion again, whether to dissolve the county government or essentially to reinstate it the way it is. There's a crisis in Meru County. Now, what is funny, or what is essentially a talking point, is that when you look at the top performing governors in the country, poll by Infotrack put Kawira Mwangaza as top 10 with a score of 63%, just 7 points of the likes of Gladys Wanga, who scored 70%. Well, let's take a look at this story. Once we come back, then Susan and Jimmy are going to weigh in on it.
After consecutive moves to impeach Meru County Governor Kawira Mwangaza, a section of Meru residents have resolved to sign a petition aimed at dissolving Meru County. The leaders have already begun collecting signatures from residents in Nkubu Market, South Imiti Meru, with the goal of reaching 10% of residents agreeing to petition, which is at least 78,000 residents.
Under Section 192(1)B ya Constitution ya Kenya, Section 123(2) of the County Government Act 2012. Hii ndio tumetumia ndio tuweze kujaza hizi forms ile ya kuriko OMCS na kuriko governor na deputy governor. Hii tumefanya kwa nini? Tumefanya kwa sababu tumeshindwa kufanya kazi. MCA wenye tulichagua wameimpeach governor mara 3.
Further, these residents suggest that another election should be done, claiming that a section of elected leaders do not agree with Governor Kawira Mwangaza, leading to poor government operations.
Media ni support the gender balancing. Na mama alibalance this gender akachukua the deputy governor. Deputy governor mwenyewe amekataa kusupport mama. Na mama mwenyewe tunaamini kusupport wazee sana na tusupport. Kwa hivyo tukiwa kina mama, siku ya leo tumekuja ku launch hii mlandi ya kwenda kupeleka hizi forms to sign, tuweke signatures zote na tunisband Meru County na tukinisolve tutataka tuingie kwa ndebe na tutachagua gavana ule ambaye atatufanyia kazi ambaye ni Kawira Mwangaza.
They say that dissolving the government is the only way to end controversy, asking President William Ruto to receive their petition as soon as it is completed. Ivy Wangulu, Lookuptv.
Let's then look up at that story. Jimmy, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
You know, somebody said there that the work of the Senate is just to look at the accusations that have been thrown to a governor and judge them per law. And we do, the Constitution provides for the basis upon which you can impeach a governor. They will go in, investigate at the Senate. If they feel that indeed the charges that have been thrown against any governor in the country then hold water, they would vote on either putting you in office or taking you out of office. Twice now, Kawira Mwangaza has been impeached and saved by the Senate. Now, what is special in a latest impeachment drive is that all the MCAs within the county government, they voted to impeach her. 57 out of 57, Jimmy.
What?
So, the question being, if indeed we are saving Kawira Mwangaza, the question should have been, where are we sending her back to, Jimmy? Did we think about that? Did the Senate think about that? That the special case around Kawira Mwangaza is that absolutely no MCA within a county government wants her. They all want her out. So how was she going to perform if none of them want her, Jimmy?
I do not know. The same question and the same scenario is happening in Kiambu.
Yes.
At some point, though not this a bit barbaric.
Yes.
I'll call it barbaric because they have stereotypes for women. The questions brought into the Senate were not only miserable, did not meet any threshold, they were lacking in basis. This was just a political witch hunt. The only problem with Meru, our brothers from Meru, I'm Kikuyu, so we are still Gema, is they have a stereotype on women. Right now, out there are all those MCAs to resign. That lady will become governor in the morning, early in the morning. She has the resources before government. She is loved by the people. The stereotypes and the politics behind there is she beats to the ball very heavyweights, national heavyweights, the likes of Monya, basically the likes of Monya in terms of they still don't believe a woman is the one leading them. Medical Inturi, CS Medical Inturi. The old gentleman, former CS, great gentleman. These people, theirs is a bit plastic. I would even remember the one for Ambora. Ambora, at least there was a question of money and everything. This one is zero. Your husband, you're not respecting us, my friend. Go work for the people. You have a pay slip. You do your thing, I do my thing.
Yes. Jimmy.
What these guys were demanding.
Yes.
And what they are demanding and what their main problem was, When the former governor was there, they used to get like a budget of 10 million per MCA,
yes,
per ward, and run it. And constitutionally, it is not viable. It is illegal. But whatever basis they use, I do not know. But something like that happened, and it was illegal. When she came in, she said, "No. Why are you telling me I give you 10 million to go plan this? Those are my people." It is the work of the governor at some point. MCAs are legislators. They do not have a kitty like MPs, so they are not supposed to be going to give anything. They're supposed to work in consensus with the county governments for them to pool resources into their areas, whichever means possible. Not necessarily sleeping with the government, because they also run as oversight for the same government, but it is pooling legislation. What we have a problem with is we put a mini parliament, and 90% of those people in the mini parliaments thought of it as the National Assembly. It can't work like that as that now, because unless these people are given their kitty, which again I also think is also devolving corruption, I do not see some of the need for what these guys were doing. Theirs is political witch hunt, something that I am telling you, let them try. Yes. I saw the Kiage MCA yesterday resign.
Yeah, that was.
I went there.
Yes.
We went there last year. Mm-hmm. I was championing Chama cha Kazi against UDA. By then, there was a bit of a scuffle here and there. And I'm telling you, that guy is a guy who better. We had a candidate called Kabobo.
Yes.
And CS Moses Kuria. Ile maneno tuliona huko. I'm telling you that politics of that. I'm telling you the money play that played. We lost in the morning, but we all lost with only 200 votes. So I think it was a good job for my team.
Yes.
By then.
Yes.
Yes.
Just before I cross over to Susan to also weigh in on this particular issue.
Yes.
I mean, if we do have a couple of MCAs like him, he's already say I'm resigning, man. You would feel like there is a sustained drive to look for options to get her out. I mean, the second impeachment has failed. There's already another third impeachment petition that has been tabled in the county government. Now, this looks like it. Jimmy, they're going to get what if they get the 78,000 signatures?
They will get them. Huh?
Yes.
Dissolving it is a matter of principle.
Does that?
Again, it takes me back to a house in Karen we always talk about.
Yes.
His Excellency the Deputy President. He is the Mount Kenya leader, top leader, who was supposed to mitigate on that issue. Mm-hmm. Why only Mount Kenya? Have you had impeachments in Garissa? Why are these guys wasting a lot of time? The only problem we have is I told you, Uhuru was cheated by somebody who was too young to retire. Now Mount Kenya I told you, is left in limbo. If His Excellency the Deputy President was on point today, Meru issue is very small. It is an ego issue. It is an issue of stamping authority to the CS, whoever, or the people in charge. Yes. Can you people let this county work? You know when you're elected as governor and they're elected as MCA, there's no bromance. Nobody told you I have to love you or look at you and kiss you. You know, it is you go there and go do your bit if you think I'm doing the wrong thing. But here, 57 people cannot think the same just because of their stomachs. Yes. But so now we are putting the Meru population in limbo.
Yes.
Because of 57 stomachs in a population of more than 2 million, 3 million. Oh.
That's like, Jimmy, I'll be coming back to you because now those guys that we've seen actually start collecting the signatures are not essentially the 57. They're completely different from the 57, isn't it? I mean, and you hear what the special complaints are. That indeed, these guys, since we put them in that particular county government, the only thing they've ever done is keep on fighting the governor. Yes. So let's just dissolve it and then after that, we go back to the elections, isn't it?
We did something like that similarly, but ours in Kiambu County by then was Waititu. It was a bit political, but truth of the matter, he had misappropriated here and there.
Yes.
There was change of guard. You know, this is science kidogo we are seeing, but those people, 90% are also, they're all financed through the same system. Somebody is really fighting to get that governor seat.
The question that I'm going to come and ask you then, Jimmy, once I talk to Susan, is going to be, is this going to be it this time around? Because they've tried it twice through the Senate, it has failed, and you've seen the way it's essentially grown. First time it was a plenary committee,
Yes.
it was a select committee. Second
Now
time
plenary,
it was
the whole house.
plenary house.
Yes.
Now all of a sudden, let's go dissolve that particular county.
That was Kawira Mongaza's biggest scandal.
Yes.
If she goes back, she'll still hit them.
That's it.
The only problem is, right now, as UDA and as government, we may not be able to afford a rerun on that point, because there's a lot of backlash in terms of, which is a reality. The people, the youth are very disgruntled with the systems of government, because some people just think they were born and they should live in government. I said it here, I will say it again. Meru factor, the youth factor comes in, we lose.
Yes.
And Munya, Raila Amolo will go looking for glory there to show that Kenya Kwanza is not.
Yes.
Yes.
Susan, same thing that I want you to weigh in on this morning. Maybe, as a governor, your strongest point was also going to be how you play your local politics. But maybe the Senate didn't figure that out, because the Senate essentially went into black and white terms of the law. What does the law state? Good. Let's essentially examine her on these particular areas. And they essentially found her clean, according to them, twice now. But then they failed to figure that when it comes to political issues within the county, those are the matters that also the governor has to contend with when she goes back home. Do you think that maybe they didn't look into that side? That it's becoming very, very tough for one Kawira Mwangaza to perform her duties in a county government where the MCAs, who are essentially supposed to support her, deliver on her agenda, they're saying no. Some of them are resigning.
Thank you. Yeah, when the issue was happening, I remember the Senate came up with the decision. It was late, around 1.
Does it?
It slept so late.
Yes.
Following. Okay, I'm a big supporter of women leadership, because I believe women also have a chance to do well in places of influence and decision making. And when you look at the history of Meru, they are not known for maybe electing women. So that is one issue that is affecting Meru County. So there are no many women in position of influence and decision making. And also Kawira Mwangaza, how she came in power, she came in as an independent candidate. So on the floor of the house, that is Meru County Assembly, she doesn't have that support base that you would say. When you look at it, we have the Kiraitu Murungi party, and when you listen to whatever is happening there, you hear he also has a hand in whatever is happening in Meru.
Yes.
So what I can say is Meru, a lot is happening, and also I tend to think that Senate went also maybe with the feelings and emotions, because they never also, like you're saying, thought of, okay, we are sending her back, where? Then also Kawira Mwangaza, from my point, is when I look at her, I tend to think maybe she's lacking that interpersonal relationship. You see, when you find yourself in a position where everyone is fighting you, you should also have that knowledge and the wisdom to understand that I don't have or rather I don't have to agree with these people, but we can always work together. Because when you look at it this way, also in Kirinyaga County, also Waiguru was facing the same issues.
She sorted it out.
Yeah, she sorted it out. So I think also the solution also is with Kawira Mwangaza.
Yes.
It's how she will be able to sit with these people.
Yes.
And talk to them and also get to understand how can we work together. We don't have to agree, by the way. Even in an institution, you might find we don't have to today to agree, tomorrow agree. We need to have a sitting and, okay, we are working for Wanjiko and this is it. So I think Kawira Mwangaza has so much to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you look at what she's done before, and I want to take you back to her first impeachment, when he didn't go through when she was cleared by that select committee, she went back and said 57 times to MCAs. In fact, if you remember, she invited them to her residence.
Yeah.
Thereafter, she said sorry 57 times. You'd like to think that that is how far you can go when it comes to apologizing and wanting to resonate with your county assembly members. But it's not working out. Yeah. It's not working out.
So she's not the problem.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Oh,
but Jimmy, could she be the problem?
Not
because even
necessarily.
after, if I apologized to 57 times, and then now all of them, and if you remember in the first one, it's not all of them wanted to impeach her, majority of them
actually
wanted to
they've
impeach
tried
her.
to impeach her thrice.
Yes.
Yes. Now the only problem with these guys is money. It is that it is what Kiraito had accustomed them to. You know, money is a factor. The previous MCA, whether obviously you have people who are retained as MCA, they're telling this other, they have to. You guys are just talking here. Me, I made this money through here. I didn't know I was doing this road there. You know, that is how I got back to. You know, it is about money. So these people, the 57 of them, should just go home. It is just like a similar scenario. Most of the MCAs who tried to impeach, actually even the senator, even MPs in Nyeri, the elder brother of His Excellency or Deputy President, all of them went. People got so he was not feeling well. They became so inhumane to a point of trying to impeach him while he was away in hospital. So our Mount Kenya politics, we also need to grow up and style up, because I do not see why the Meru people are suffering because of 57 stomachs.
But I also think Kawira Mwangaza, she's understanding the game, because like you see,
she's beating them at their own game.
Yeah, because
is she really?
Yes.
Yeah, she
How,
is.
Susan?
For instance, I've come to notice that she's able to use social media and media at
and
large.
The ground. Yes. She's a ground person.
Number one, she has a TV station that is locally
aired.
Yeah. The issue for her, like the police issue, the one she got arrested. On her TV, it was played every day for a week. So she's also playing politics, and that is why I'm thinking on
beating that woman is a tall order. I'm telling you.
Is it going to be a tall order? Because the question that we should be asking this morning, let's go with the theory then, Susan, that somebody seated somewhere saying we gotta get her out. If the resources that these people behind her have, you know, to support the MCAs, to go in and tell the MCAs, well, support our impeachment, now to start a drive of collecting signatures in county government, they only need 78,000. It's very expensive, isn't it?
It will go for another 1 year. I'm telling you, and that woman, the more you try to push her, the more Wanjiku, do you know why the president, His Excellency Dr. RUTO, got a million and a number of votes? It's because His Excellency, the former president, pushed him to a corner. People resent, hate. People resent people who try and demean others. That is natural. It is actually a reflex.
Even bullies.
Now when you put the Meru women, those Meru guys who are, I'm telling you, went to Kiago for a by-election. We stayed there for 3 months. So I'm telling you about an area where at least I have an idea of what happened. 90% of the people who vote there are women. Those dudes who are running up and down there, those are the political brokers and drinking and taking money. But 90%, the women of Meru are no joke. Man.
Yes. Jimmy, are we closing our eyes to an issue here that we got to look at, that the MCAs are ready to dissolve the county government?
She is the first person to say that. So whatever they are doing, they're trying to ride on something else.
Yeah.
And actually, the gentleman who from Kiago who purportedly resigned, it was good for media, was also a staunch supporter. He was a staunch supporter
supporting her
of the governor. Yes. So because of this backlash, home backlash, that is why most of the MCAs probably supported that motion. But a number of them, a good percentage of them, are not with the rest. Me, I'm telling you, dissolving means those guys go home. An MCA to go back right now, at the current economic times, my friend, it is harder than even the president. You're going to do local politics. with nobody to support you to start with. Because now there will be very many parties in terms. Nobody wants an MCA, and again that seat wasn't even government seat. It was an open seat in terms of it was she was elected as an independent candidate. My friend, people, the science that will be there. You do not
And then
we don't need an election. The government doesn't need extra baggage. Because if the 47 or 57 of them go home,
yes,
that is extra baggage to the older government.
Susan, even as you want to add on that there's something that is playing out in the background, and I want to do a comparison of exactly what is happening in Kiambu and how fast the government then moved in through DP Rigathi Gachagua. You do remember his sentiments that he was going to spend an entire day. In fact, he said he was going to be there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Talk to all the county officials, know exactly what's going on, that they wanted an immediate solution as to what was going on in that particular county. Now you could say, is in a region where the kingship wars have been essentially happening, why is not the same happening in that particular county? Why is the DP, for example, not moving in and saying, well, this is our region, we've got to focus on development. I want to spend 12 hours here from morning to evening and try and find a solution for it. Nobody's speaking about it. It's like it's been thrown to the dogs. Let whatever play out. Yes.
Unless it's part of the problem.
You would think so?
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and also you look at the situation, like we are saying, Kawira Mwangaza, the Mwananchi wants her.
Now get Mwananchi off her.
Yeah.
Now show me
as
how.
much as you would want to fight her, you can't come out openly.
Yes.
You see. So Mwananchi wants Kawira.
Yes.
But also
there's no backlash in terms of Kawira to national government.
Yeah.
They want the lady. But now our so-called king leaders are not getting this math right, because either they are fueling, either they are trying to fuel, or they do not have a way of how to run Meru County. You see, the problem with Meru politics is that Meru as a county is like seen as a central point of Eastern. They have been able to control Embu because Her Excellency, the Governor, Cecily Mbarire, is Uda. The only place which is very tricky,
it's
Meru Tarakaniti. They have not been able to play. That politics is still that at some point is a swing vote in our national politics. That is the problem. Power play in Meru. They have been able to sort people, give them jobs here and there, but the ground there is very difficult.
Difficult, yeah. Also, the government cannot risk.
And the government lost. Actually, we lost.
Yes. Why can they not risk?
They cannot risk, being that we are going back to elections, being that
it's stressful.
Yeah, it's stressful, and also economic times. People feel that the government is
could be a statement.
Yeah. So, and also what Kawira Mwangaza, actually he's setting the agenda for Meru and then leaving it to MCAs to push it. He's playing politics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's look at the latest polls and indulge me, please, if you can, Susan. Even if Infotrack is saying that she's the best performing, under what metrics? Because you like to think that when you look at Gladys Wanga, I mean, who was really the top performing governor currently in this region, awesome, isn't it? She's been able to play politics, county politics, and also play development politics in a county properly. Yes. I mean, it's hard to see negative headlines from that particular county. The only thing you hear is positive headlines of exactly what she's doing in that county government.
Very innovative. She's a political.
Isn't it? If we're going to rate Kawira Mwangaza as a governor that people need, you like to think that now the majority of people, even within Meru County, are now raising questions. Why are MCAs becoming a tough nut for you to crack, if indeed you are the governor that we elected in this particular position?
Exactly. Also, you see, we have different, like you see in Homa Bay, where Gladys is, the ODM party controls there.
Of course, it's majority.
Yeah. Yes. But you see, when you look at Meru, you see, if today Kiraitu Morungi, if it is true he's behind whatever is happening, he calls his MCAs, tells them to do this. So the disadvantage
then does it.
Does it. You see, it cannot be like Homa Bay, because Homa Bay, they are loyal to one party, but there Kawira Mwangaza, she seems to be alone.
Yes.
Why we are fighting the lady?
This is the question that I want to ask you as you want to add. Is it hard then for us to figure an independent governor in this country, knowing very well that indeed, if you want to look at how majority of these counties have voted, the same pattern would essentially be reflected in national politics, that these county governments essentially vote on party lines.
That's basically it. That's basically we are a two-way country. First, we vote tribally and party-wise. Kawira has been working for the people, regardless of the noise of the MCAs. If it is the roads, if it is grading, it is the projects in Meru County are going on. Nothing has stopped. You see, before they started their madness, they already gave her a budget. So she still has the money to run that government. The only problem is they are not the ones directing in terms of, the procurement. That's the science. The only problem with that county, like I said, is devolved corruption. What Kawira is doing, Kawira has been with the people. If you've seen her before her bid for election, she was actually, Kiraito Broom used to fight her right, left, center. He actually made her popular. That lady used to have even projects for building houses for people who are destitute. She is already there. She is already the brand of Meru politics. She has gone Mashidani. These guys are coming with the stories of Barabara. She knows what the problem of let's say not the Rakani, she knows the problem of Maua. Yes. She knows these words like the back of her hand. She already has her own grassroots network. So that's why MCs are finding it hard to work with. It is actually difficult with somebody who understands, who is more Marian in terms of home. Kiraito was yes, he was Marian, but that is a Nairobi folk. Even now, you can't take that guy. He's waking up in Meru. You get depressed, my friend. That's a Nairobi folk. So he cannot live in Meru. At every day wake up, I don't know. Kawira lives there. She doesn't have a house at the, okay, probably she has, but 90% of her time is there. She wakes up with these locals. She was being fought when she was a local. She was investing when she was a local. She is a brand of the new age Meru women politics. Now they are fighting. They have the vote. You think you have the politics. There is no single MCA elected that is female in that county. So it's still male chauvinism.
That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like us to move on to the next issue this morning as we leave Meru politics alone at this particular time. Now, there's something that has happened last week. No, there's a lot that is going on in the country about the economy and the way we're running this country, to the point that majority of Kenyans have forgotten that there is the Bomas of Kenya draft that we're waiting for Susan. Do remember the last time that we're really talking about this particular issue is when that particular committee, through their chair, was Kimani Ichung'wah from the government side, went back to the National House and asked for an extra 30 days so that they could comfortably take in all the recommendations and suggestions from Kenyans. And they were granted. But if you do remember, it was not even debated upon. The moment it was mentioned, every other person, the yes were essentially ruling the day. Good. They went back. So up to the report writing stage, and if you remember, even Opio and I said, we do not need every other day out of these 30 days. They say, we just want to work within a comfortable environment. We're going to work and clear everything that we want within these 30 days, which, if you're counting now, is just 2 weeks left. Good. Last Friday, they were in a retreat to write the report, and we do know how draft goes. We talk about everything. Then after that, we agree, or we put down whatever it is that we agreed on in a report. Good. So when those ladies and gentlemen are essentially doing that report, Azimio coalition comes in and says, you see in that report, include removal of the 8% VAT that you've added on fuel, reducing government travel, go right ahead and remove housing levy. They went all the way and came up with 9 demands. So the committee looked at them and said, well, we're at the report writing stage. We can do that. They disagreed, they walked out. We've not gotten news that they're going back again to write that particular report, because within now these 14 days that are left, Susan, they got to go back and talk about these 9 demands again that the Azimio coalition has met. So right now, as it stands, that report the majority of Kenyans were waiting for, nobody knows when it's going to come out. The president came and spoke about it, and he said this: I'd rather those talks fail than missing out on the housing levy. So he made his sentiments clear on those developments from that report writing stage. Susan, could you weigh in on this? And the only question that I've got around this particular issue is the Azimio coalition becoming mischievous in these talks or negotiations based on how they will come up with 9 new demands on the report writing stage? And what do you think that would make those demands at that particular stage?
Okay, I don't think they're genuine, because how do you come at the last stage is when we had time to discuss all this.
Yes.
You didn't speak about it, and here you are now. We are in the final stages where we want to table the report, what we've discussed and what we've seen is way forward for our country. Then you are here coming telling us that you have other things that you would want included in the report. On the other hand is that President William Ruto, there is someone who just elected him because of the housing project. He said, I would want to own a home. I don't know how, but if the president would come with this agenda and fulfill it, I don't see why I should not elect him. So I don't see why they should force the president to withdraw the project. Again, I find opposition not genuine, because most of them, they were including their leader, who is former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga.
Yes.
He was in the government when they shake hand with Uhuru Kenyatta. And by that time also we were lacking Munga, basic needs, things were still tough. So I wonder what has changed, unless there is something else they want that they're not saying loud, so they come behind using whatever Kenyans would feel, and you know, these people are fighting for us.
Yes.
So I don't think they're genuine.
Let me just go through some of those demands, Jimmy, before I cross over to you. They're talking about number one, VAT on petroleum products. They want to reduce to 8% from the current 16%. They're also talking about scrapping of the housing levy. They're talking about reduction of budget estimates. Very specific, by the way, Jimmy, if you listen to this. They want general office supplies reduced by between 25% and 30%. All right. Now, according to Azimio estimations, the reduction in the budget will save the country 120 billion. Very specific. They're talking about decongestion of prisons, by the way. Here, they're talking about reducing the current decongested state of our prisons from 66,000 to an established capacity of 32,000. And they're saying, according to this, the country is going to save 18 billion shillings annually from running these particular prisons. They're also talking about social protection program. They want the government to further expand the social protection programs to cover more people with more money. That's essentially is that. Jimmy, yes. When you listen to this particular one, they're very specific. And in fact, I spoke to an analyst here as we were getting done with our conversation yesterday. Yes. They say, guys, were we pretending that this was not part of the demands that they met before? That every other thing here essentially touches on reducing on the cost of living and also increasing the flow of money within the economy, which is essentially how you summarize their first four demands before they went into these discussions. They said, it's not new.
Actually, let me tell you.
Yeah.
They need the deal more than government needs the deal. They need that chair, because it's not actually Raila Amolo Odinga, he's even aging. His people need that office of official opposition.
They seem
more than.
Yes.
Then let me tell you.
They seem like they have no problem with that, Jimmy.
I'm saying they need it more than government needs. And government also needs to offset this baggage, or rather luggage, and let them come and sort the issues from a government point of view, because they will understand budgets probably when they're in the systems, in working systems, and they'll understand talk is not cheap. When they want to run fuel, the fuel guzzlers, and they will not be running. When they the same, you see, what the only problem with them is they have unreasonable demands. If when Babaman was given Anushumkate,
yes,
he increased the premiership office, took almost half of what State House was spending. We remember when we were saying about the golden toilet and the red carpet and all that nonsense. They are more spendthrifts when it comes to government money. They have been using it for free. With the BBI nonsense, they use that money for free. Nobody okayed that money from anywhere. That is what we're paying right now. So let's not be... we also need an honest country. We need honest leaders. As much as you're looking for something to eat, and they eat politics.
Yes.
This Wanjiko is there, and Wanjiko is not going anywhere. And no wonder you'll get curses there. This is those funny diseases and problems these guys get. Because money is not the end of everything. We need honest leadership in this country. Like I was speaking on the war against drugs. I said it was a very lucrative position for His Excellency Brigadier Gachagua to have given the youth of this country are not stressed. The cost of living is high, but it would have mitigated on so much, because what His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta did not do. He did all the development projects, but forgot about social economical empowerment. That is the brainchild of this thing. Then you go give it to the administration police. I asked, which police officer does not know there is Bangi being sold or Changa being sold? Which chief does not understand that? You saw him in, I think it was in Embu.
Yes, sir.
Speaking to the, I think it was county commander. My friend, that is wrong. Let the people come out with the projects. Give them that mantle, give them that mandate. Those things will go, those vices will disappear. So even the opposition, let them not play politics with this country. These people are dying, like for real. You know, people are dying. People need dire help. You guys are fighting for position. That thing is, what His Excellency the President has proposed and what is actually happening. Those houses are up, or somewhere in Ruiru, those things are there. It's practical. Easy it doesn't happen. They are there and they will work. You know, it is just reducing the cost of living in terms of probably spacing, you know, the mitigating on the upcoming urban slum dwellings, you know. It goes a long way. It will have so much effects, because now with that new way of system, as much as the building part, we are still not seeing it yet. We still have a problem with either the contractors who are given, private contractors, because they are not hiring our youth. I have not seen anywhere where the youth are happy because of those projects. The only problems with some of those problems are those. But the housing levy, putting out the housing levy, is killing a dream that this country is supposed to be going through. That is not costing us anything. Yes. Water. It's not costing us money. Just a few coins from people with pay slips. And systems are running. So I think the Babaman and his theatrics,
yes,
he's very good. He runs on, he fuels everything in crisis. Babaman is perfect. When the country is very quiet, he'll just come pop up, everything goes haywire.
Yes.
But we also need to get off the dingaism, from my point of view.
Yes. Susan, I want to put you on this as well. When you look at these new proposals that are coming up with a social protection program, there's a feeling that even the heavy drive like Kazi kwa Vijana, which would put money in the pockets of unemployed youth in the country, whatever little it may have been, that have been scrapped in this government, are now needed back just to support the unemployed youth in this country. We're also talking about the reduction of congestion of prisons. I was listening to the SG of ODM, Sifuna, talk about this particular one. He's like, I don't understand why people with petty offenses are rotting in prisons today when you can get them out and then start rehabilitating them cheaply within the economy. As in, we're using so much money for petty offenders in prisons, is saying that, well, if you can save 18 billion out of that, then it makes practical sense for running of the economy. It's talking about if you go into the state offices and then reduce their expenditure by 120 billion annually, these monies that we're telling you to release are essentially the ones that you put in these programs that we're talking to you about. That if you look at it critically and close your eyes on the fact that these proposals came in at a later period, then they make practical sense. Which is I want you to weigh in on the fact that why are they coming now, Susan? Why now? Why now at the report writing stage? Have they read foreplay in the way that this report is going to be implemented?
Okay, like I've said, they're not genuine. If they were genuine, I think they had a demand that was not met.
Yes.
So this is the time they're trying to show Kenyans now. It's just politics, I would say. They're playing politics to show that the government is... You see, some things are easier said than done. So I don't think they're honest.
When you look at this particular one, on even reducing fuel VAT from 16% to 8%, the social protection program, this removing of more than 16,000 Kenyans from prisons on petty offenses, you will say they're not popularist, that they do make sense, that even cutting down on government expenditure, regardless of the time that they come in, that the critics who are listening to you will say, well, but it makes practical sense regardless of the time that is come in. Jimmy, I spoke to an ODM supporter here who said, I mean, who cares what time they come in? We were given that period, we negotiated for it.
Yes, that one is not a problem.
Yes.
Actually, that one is not a problem. In terms of the social part, because it touches on the youth, which I propagate a lot. We don't need all those people in jails. I think it's not necessary.
Yes.
It is, that one, yes. But these guys want to cut costs of running government. With, you said 120 billion?
120 billion annually, yes.
Create an office of the official opposition, use 600 billion. So who are they helping? Isn't that what this report is all about? So you want to cut cost 120 billion, and you want to tell us it is, yes, it's good, it's possible for the social part, yes. Because right now, government urgently needs to come to the youth. In terms of, we may not necessarily blink kazi kwa vijana, but we need a youth commission. Actually, I wanted to do a proposal to the president. We need a youth commission, just like the way we have TSC, Teacher Service Commission. We need a youth commission, purely 100%. Yesterday, I think it was today, I saw the news, you put on the news something about fighting money laundering. Can I promise government they cannot be able to fight money laundering? Because the people who are in that office are all technocrats who know very little about the way money is being laundered now. Until they go to JKUAT, collect 5,000 students, they show them there is something called cryptocurrency. You can move 10 zillions, forget about trillions, into this country without anybody noticing. Work with them and do anything you feel like. This is Kenya. Until these people, I am telling them.
Yes.
Now that is where they should be thinking in terms of the youth, the something you said about the economical, social economical part of this. We have big good brains who don't even need jobs. They just need a way of doing it. If you see the amount of cybercrime in this country, you will know these people are playing with a time bomb. The KRA has been hit. Anyway, they've hit Safaricom, they've hit everything.
Citizen.
They've hit Citizen. Basically, people, and there's something these guys are reading through the line. They can't. That one I'll promise them. They want the old method of doing.
Yes.
The DCI in our country has not been able to solve any cryptocurrency problem. Do you know how many people lose money through that nonsense? We call it nonsense, but it's real. I have seen it work. It's real. It's there. So about that and the youth, yes. But saving government spending, which I'm sure the president is also in line with the same thinking. But for them, they want to cut on this, get an office of the official opposition, use 600 billion.
Yes.
Because they will be fighting of a very large chunk of money.
That's it. But Susan, as we get close to ending our conversation this morning, the sentiments by the president is a man who's not been known to talk so much about the ongoing talks at the Bomas of Kenya. In fact, you just pick a couple of statements, so you know exactly where his mind is when it comes to those talks at the Bomas of Kenya. That statement right there, that I'd rather the talks fail than lose the housing levy. Who needs these talks to succeed more than the other? Is it the president or the opposition, Susan? Because we do know what the aftermath or what the end product of those talks failing will be. And that's what we were trying to run away from. Yes.
Okay, the president already, he's not the person who came up with the whole thing. We had first maandamano, properties were destroyed, and we tend to, or rather I saw it as the opposition trying to get the government attention that we are saying something, listen to us. And there were so many discussions. Oh, there is a way of dialogue. You don't have to go on the streets. Businesses are closing down. That if we continue like this, the economy is doing so bad. So, and the president was like, okay, I have no problem with talks. But again, the president had a plan when he was selling the agendas to Kenyans, when he was saying what he wants to do to Kenyans. Then we have the opposition who wants to come and interfere with the president's plan, because something like house levy is something that the president was very vocal about it even during campaign, and we have seen him going to, he's been to Nyandarua, he's been to Kirinyaga, he has been to Nakuru, launching all these programs. So we can say that some of these programs that the opposition are asking them to be taken off, there are things that already have taken off. The systems are up and running. So I tend to feel what they are really looking at.
What should be the mood of the president towards these talks? Because then we do know why we got into these talks. How should he view these talks, Susan? Because he's saying I'd rather they fail.
Yeah, I would advise him maybe to take what is positive for Kenyans.
Yes.
Like that's one, the Sifuna thing, for the youth and stuff. They should really look into such things. But I don't think the others are something that he should really focus on it.
Jimmy, finally on this one. Is that a bit reckless from the president to say,
no.
I'd rather they fail?
Reckless. We came with you guys. We went to a duel.
Yes.
We won. You tried the back door. This thing didn't work.
What's that?
Tried the other way through the streets and everything. Now we have the talks. Internationally, I think instigated because that was not part of our agenda as Kenya Kwanza or as the people who supported government. We saw the problems we are fighting right now. We go back to the same problem you said we should not always be mentioning the previous government. Why we are suffering right now is because opposition and government went to bed.
Yes.
And that was the biggest undoing. That is why we also had 2007 wars.
Yes.
Bloodshed, destruction of property because of power.
Yes, sir.
Then why would I was even asking myself, then why do we go to election? Can we have a hybrid system where everybody just says, now you guys are government, let's go for talks? You know, it is not making sense if we have to. The government, the president has too many problems right now to handle. And part of them, they're not illuminating so much on behalf of anybody because it is common knowledge from even supporters of Kenya Kwanza itself. So there's nothing much they're doing. Their job is supposed to be in parliament making laws. They want to go discuss talks. My friend, we have to focus. We cannot be doing the same thing. We cannot be doing the same thing because of an individual. The worst part is it is because of an individual.
Yes, sir.
I wish it was because of Kenya. The bogus part is because of an individual, because of power blues, because of learning to eat from systems. You get? So I do not see where the president should even be.
Yes.
Should not even be sorry. Again, the president has people he sent there. That's why I'm saying the president is taking too much at some point. He should even ignore some of the sentiments in terms of the people he has employed. If these people are incompetent, kick the people out. Get them out.
By the way, it's a good thing that Jimmy is introducing the last issue that I wanted to touch on this morning quickly then. There have been jitters within RUTO's administration now, Susan, that indeed RUTO, after more than 1 year of being in government, is essentially looked at where his weaknesses and strengths of his government are. And there have been talks more than ever then that this time around we're going to see more reshuffles and more firing now within RUTO's administration. Yesterday, somebody brought us to the light that indeed the only time that RUTO has ever fired somebody here was, remember, when he fired the PS because of the KEMSA scandal that essentially happened in this country. But within his own government, even when he complains that the majority of them have no idea what's going on in the ministries, he's never really come out strongly to say, I'm going to fire somebody. Good. On the back of them signing performance contracts, there are feelings from within the Senate and also the National House that indeed some of them have to go. Case in point, Moses Kuria. Last week, actually 2 weeks ago, during the grilling of Kawira Mwangaza, Moses Kuria was uncustomary, a discussion point within the Senate at a time when they wanted to look into the issues of Meru County, and they urged the president to let him go. In fact, they promised they're going to talk to their counterparts in the National House so the impeachment motion for Moses Kuria could begin. Is it time that the president did that? That go in, change now, and not just change because we've seen him reshuffle, send some of them home. Stop complaining about them. Is that what he should do now?
Yeah, I think it's time. Because we have a few things. Maybe yes. They had, you look at something like Unga, they had said they will look at the prices.
Yes.
We are still having issues here and there. So I think maybe it's time for him to also look at, but I again saw he's having his own style of working. Yes. Like he's giving people time to just and style up and come up, and he's trying to communicate that we are now in power, we are the ones Kenyans are looking at, so can we speed up and do something? So, but I'm sure at the back of his mind he's having such thoughts.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just before I cross over to Jimmy, majority of Kenyans criticized his cabinet, that it looked a political appointment as opposed to a technocratic appointment. That today, should he say that you and you go home, then it would suffer politically. They say that wait until your second term. That's when you can actually start making this kind of moves. Yes. Don't do it in the first term.
Okay. What I know about William Ruto is not, I don't think he can look at it like that, but I believe he also has a strong will to do some changes, because at the end of the day, as much as he will salvage them, he will have some questions to answer after 5 years, that this person was behaving this way, and at the same time he has already warned them. You remember during the signing of contract, he told them, some of you I even know what is happening
ministries that you do.
Yeah, so that was a warning. That was a warning that I'm watching you guys, so if a time comes and I strike,
yes,
we will have no one to complain to. Yeah, so I think he can do it
pretty much. But Jimmy, I gotta look at it from this perspective.
Yes.
That indeed the biggest failure for President Dr. William Ruto is not appointing these guys in these ministries, is that they were political appointees.
Yes,
and indeed every other person agreed in the country.
Yes.
That now, should he touch them now, then what he's doing then is sort of digging his grave for 2027 elections.
Not necessarily. Let me tell you, 90% of those people, as much as they want to think they are political, 90% of them were made by William, His Excellency William. At some point, William does not need anybody to come to Mount Kenya. Do you know that? So even His Excellency, the Deputy President, is an appointee.
Yes.
He did not, what did he do that was so bigger than any other person in Mount Kenya? Nothing. All of them are appointees. For the country to run, the honeymoon is over. It's not his business to give you a job, wake you up in the morning, tell you this is how you're supposed to do it. It is time His Excellency takes charge. And by taking charge, don't do the pressers for them. That is why we had performance contracts. Now we think we need to check to what level. The people have never even seen talk. There are no projects. Basically, even His Excellency Ababu Namwamba, I had so much hope in that gentleman in terms of rejuvenating the youthful field. This guy's man just disappeared. This guy's, it is cushioning time. When I said the likes of Moses,
yes,
Moses is brilliant. Moses is a technocrat. He may not have people skills as Kawira Mwangaza has. So basically, for Moses, it's not more about working, it's more about controlling his temperament. His assistance to probably Mount Kenya Youth, which he has done zero actually with 21 parastatals. I still do not understand how we worked for 1 year and nobody got even an appointment. I still have questions. One day, maybe probably when I settle down on my anger issues, I will talk to him. But that gentleman, 21 parastatals. Right now, probably life will go on and life will go. But His Excellency the President, that's why I said for him, yes, to be able to run government right now.
Yes.
Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President, get your act together. Get an office. Do you know why? And I always remember Karen. Because there was nothing as beautiful as Karen. Politically, I have done politics in this country. I have even worked with Jenga Karope. He paid my fees, my college fees. And the other Wakahio, but then it was the larger Kiambu. So I'm not new to politics. It was beautiful in Karen. Karen was a theater of dreams. But when we got Karen 2, my friend, that place is boring. And State House is not a very interesting place. There's too much power play. It is a bit too clouded with the military and all that stuff. It's not. It doesn't have the environment we had in Karen. So people are not even comfortable going at, hey, we're going for a function at the place. I've got like 5. Then yes, I'm like, hey, this is too much pressure. No, Karen was easy. As guys go, you eat, you meet, people exchange ideas, new things were born. In Karen, that is where David D were brought up. Now the economists of today. So he also needs to plan, get a way of assisting the president. This story of following the president, I do not know who said that if the president is in point A, the deputy has to be in point B. No. Can we get off that? And to the Mount Kenya MPs also. These guys forgot about the people or their people. You're finding a meeting for a church service. 87 MPs, senators, what boards of chairs, all those fuel guzzlers. Money enough to change an economy of the particular place you're going.
In 45 seconds, Jimmy.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think the president, it's about time. He also needs to wake up now.
No, sir.
Kiongozi, things are not good. This country is burning. The youth are dying. The youth are being shot dead because of robbery.
Yes.
Kids are dying. And kids, and I'm calling them kids because they're 15 to 25 years, drug abuse. This country had a lot of hope in our president. And we still have a lot of hope. Particularly us who believed in William. Forget about the other shenanigans of the other people he brought around. Us guys who believe in His Excellency William, we know he has a plan. But can we fast track it? Can we get mitigation for the youth? As you're doing that plan, can you get a socio-economical way of doing it? Can we get this something small for the youth of this generation in this country?
Pretty much. Just what the news just come in is that Kawira Mwangaza wanted to meet her MCS today. They wrote a letter and told her we won't be available. All of them collectively signed it. That's the state
should
of that
go.
particular account, isn't it? All right. Take them back to the time that they joined us right here at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. My name is Simba Kiage. Susan, Jimmy, thank you very much for coming by. We've been quite lovely this morning. Goodbye. Tomorrow is another time to do this. Wamekata collectively, like a letter, like, oh, we are not there. Yeah? Yeah. Wamepatiwa. Yeah.